Good morning, on and all. I feel privileged to welcome our resource person, Dr. D.K.Hari and Dr. D.K.HemaHari, President of BharathGyan. Dr. D.K.Hari is a management expert and Dr. D.K.HemaHari is an IT professional. These couples have been working for 3 decades.
Thank you all. Thank you to the whole SRC team for giving us this opportunity to be part of your Heritage Week, specifically to Professor Usha for encouraging the students so much and for our being instrumental for this continuing association between BharathGyan and SRC over the last few years. Thank you so much, Professor. Now, getting on to the subject of the day.
Namaste to all of you. We're very happy to learn that you are celebrating a Heritage Week and you've chosen a topic about scripts and monuments. And so we thought we could talk to you about ultimately what are these scripts and monuments all about. So monuments, while they are still physical structures and you see them, you walk into them and all that, they have been built there so that they can communicate to you. They can tell you about the past, or they can tell you about a concept. They can bring a divinity close to you. So these are the various reasons that monuments are built. They help you connect. It's meant for you to connect. They're meant for communicating ideas to you visually. As concepts and things that you can experience. So with that, I'm very glad that you've taken this up. So we thought, given that you've chosen scripts and monuments, ultimately, what are they pointing down to? Communication. And look at the beauty in the name of our civilization. We call ourselves India, that is Bharat. And the word Bharat, if you look at it, Bharati, is a word that denotes speech. So speech is one of the meanings for the word Bharati. And truly, our civilization has been a pioneer in communication. So not only have they left us monuments and scripts that tell us about our legacy and about our civilization, even the scripts themselves, the language, the method of communication itself is a legacy. So we have not only communicated our legacy using all this, our communication methods themselves are a legacy which we have given the world as well. We have shared with the world, and that's what we're going to see today. Now, when you come to communication, how do you communicate without speaking? That is one of the fundamental questions. And the other is, so the moot point will be, how do you preserve that speech? So we are saying so many things, but how do you preserve that speech? And that is what has given rise to writing as such.
So when you talk about writing, one of the early things that in the Indian concept that we recognize, understand is Lord Ganesha was in a very early scribe, something scribe. Okay, so what did he scribe? He was a scribe for the monumental work, what we now revere as Mahabharata. When he wrote it first, it was called Jaya, later Vijaya, and now Mahabharata. So he's one of the scribes who actually, when Maharishi Krishna Dwayapayana, whom we reverentially call as Vedavyasa, he was dictating it. Lord Ganesha was a scribe. We all know the story very well.
And as for the story, he is known for being a scribe who wrote with understanding, because that was the challenge that he had already given. So he will understand and he will write. And so he stands for writing with an understanding.
This is a lesson for all of you as students, because when you write something, what is the lesson that Ganesha gives you? That you should understand what you write, not write without understanding. That's a key takeaway point here in this slide. Similarly, if you look at the Egyptians...
And one more point, since you're all students, want to add something, which I'm sure your teachers will be thankful for. You should write in a way that the teachers can understand what you've written. You shouldn't scribble. Write with a neat handwriting so the teacher who is reading your paper can also understand what you have written.
So, if you write well, it's a scribe. If you are not able to write well, it's a scribble. Look at the word in English language itself. Between a scribble and a scribe. So is it not much better to be a scribe? Similarly, if you look at the other great civilization of similar antiquity in Northeast Africa by the Nile River, there's a famous civilization called the Egyptian civilization. They also have voluminous texts. And what do they have in their pradhana statues? A scribe. And what does that scribe denote?
And this scribe, actually, one of the famous scribes of the Egyptian civilization, he is called Thoth here. And Thoth means a bird, like an ibis. And they chose this symbolism. Like we have so many animal bird figures, right? They're actually symbolizing something. That's also means of communication. So he represented observation when you scribe. So the power or the act of observing and documenting it. So this is not about understanding. The focus is not here so much on the understanding part, but then bringing everything that you're seeing and recording. So it's about a recording. And now for a challenge here, we have a sample script here with curves. I mean, a script which actually is written with a lot of curves. Can anybody guess what this script is called? So we've had many scribes, we've had many scripts. I can see one of your last sessions is going to be on the Sharda script. Very fortunate to be having that session. Now here is another script. So there's a clue. This is not Sharda script and it has curves. So can anybody over there guess as to what the script is?
She said curved. It's a curved script. It's a script. Can anybody guess the script? Very important. And that script is much in
The
dialogue. See, it's curved in the language Hindi and all the North Indian languages. It means modna. That's why this
bend. Modna means bend. So this script, I can understand there are challenges of getting on to the
explaining. But the point is, see, in every one of our house, where we have a round seater, cushion, it is called a moda. Especially in the Tamil language, I'm sure many of you would have a moda in your house, or at least sat on something which is round and cushiony. So that's what it's called. The idea is called, the script is called Modi. And the people who wrote in the script, the experts who were the scribes in the script, their family lineage is called Modi. Because they are all scribes. They wrote the language for the civilization as whole, for the kings as whole, and actually for the Maratha kings who lived in Tanjavur and who lived in the other parts of Senji and all over. Their official script language was the Modi script. Interesting, isn't it? You learned something today. Now, going back in time, Dholavira in Gujarat, which is one of the excavation sites, one of the monuments. Look at that. That's there. It is there in Gujarat. That site, this is the actual excavation site of Dholavira is there. What they found was embedded on the excavation site, they found this. A series of scripts like this. And what they found was when you clean it up and put it up, it looks like this. This is a signboard. The world's oldest signboard is here. Look at the beauty of it. Probably 5, 6, 7,000 years old. That's a signboard language. So that's older. So a communication mechanism through signs has been found here in Bharat, India.
And going back to around 5,000 years old at least.
Now, what we call it as a Samparka Pasha because you can communicate and you can connect with people. And this communication was established not only within Bharat, but all the way up to the Pacific Ocean islands, what you call Tahiti today, to the Mediterranean, East Mediterranean coast, which is called Phoenicia, with Bharat in the center, with Champa, Vietnam there also. So it was a connection of script and writing about 4,000 years back. That is 4,000 BP. That is before present. That was the length of the communication that we have had in Bharat. Because when you use the word Bharat and when she used the word Bharati, that's what she gets to mean there. Because we had established a communication method to trade, to travel. And that's what they did not now, but millennia ago. And how do you know that they had, how do you know the proof that they had scripts reaching up to Tahiti? Now we have seen about Dholavira here. What is the script you shown in Dholavira? Suppose you find the same script here in Tahiti. That is what you find of the same antiquity. Look at this. Look at this. The script there.
I'll show you the
script there is called the Rongo script in Tahiti Islands. Here I'll show you that.
So look, this is where the islands are.
It's now what is known as Polynesia. That's the present name of the place. And there, Indians have traveled by ship all the way from here and taken their script. Look at this. They found the Indus Valley script and the Easter Island script.
So what we saw in Dholavira today, we call them, world identifies it as the Indus Valley script. And this region where they found the script in Tahiti Island is called the Easter Island. This was discovered in 1933. And this is what they are. See here.
Look at the script. Look at the script here. Within this script, which is Easter Island, this is there in the Indus Valley. Look at the script here.
See how similar they are.
This is in wood, this is in clay. That's all the difference.
Look at the symbols.
About 90 symbols they have found similar. Using man to communicate. So you talk about scripts. Look at these scripts have traveled across thousands of miles in the sea, thousands of kilometers in sea. One was written on wooden plank, so it had to be rewritten every 400, 500 years. Other was written in clay tablet, so it's available for the last 5,000 years. That is the beauty of it. And when you go back to see, what do you see here? This script, so this traveled from here all the way up to here. So you had a communication line. See, today when I'll take a simple point and say, today, many of us are travelers. We go to different countries, different places, across India, across the world. What language do you speak to people? Today you have a dictionary, you can translate us, etc. But those days, imagine, when travelers went about 4,000, 5,000 years ago to a new land. They did not even know where the land existed. They went to a new land. They had to start communicating with the locals. That's important. So communication as a skill is important. And not only did they communicate successfully, to trade successfully, which is what she'll show you now, they also used a script that they could relate to. Look at the ingenuity, the ingeniousness of our ancestors millennia ago. That is a key point that we are trying to bring out here in this point.
So now if you come down to it, writing as such, there are two main purposes for writing. The two main purposes, one is you have to preserve the sound, the speech. The sound component has to be preserved. Along with that, what do you also have to preserve? The meaning component. What it is, what did those sounds communicate? Both have to be preserved. So phonetics and semantics are both essential in writing. So when you come to phonetics, it doesn't matter about the meaning. You're now worried more about how does it sound to the ear. And therefore, what do? You break sounds in forms that can be into units that can be written down. And in English today, you call them phoneme, meaning units of sound from which you get phonetics and phone, for instance, which is about hearing, telephone. And look at the word we have used for these kind of sound units, which could be written down. We call them aksharam, because kshara means to just fade away or just vanish, disappear, get destroyed. But whereas aksharam is that which is undestroyable, that which doesn't fade away, that which continues and lives on. So we said the sound unit, once you write it, then it is as though that bit of sound has been captured in some solid form. So it is no longer, it has vanished. It is there here in a written form. So that is an aksharam. And similarly for semantics, semantics are all about the meaning. So how do you convey these meanings? It's by composing these sound units into words. See, when I'm talking, it's just if you really put a CRT oscilloscope or whatever, you'll just see waves, 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 waves. You will not know where a word is starting, where a sound unit is ending, and so on. So, taking a string of sound, which is just waves, breaking it into small units, and breaking groups of those small units into meaningful words. So that is semantic, where you break them into groups and those groups have a meaning and they denote something. So then you call it semantic, and we say semim, semim, and it is artham. Semim, because it is the same. So this group of word is similar. So semantic, similar, same. So this group of word is similar to what we are talking about. So instead of putting that object here, it is, I'm representing it by this set of syllables and a word. It's also called pratibha, meaning the
Excuse me,
form of
ma'am.
it. Yes.
Ma'am, actually,
Yes.
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Ma'am, so our forefathers communicated with those Tahitians by means of phonetics, right?
No. No. We'll be talking about that a little later. That's why we just showed you that there are symbols and signs. Those were drawings, right? So what did those drawings represent?
Yes, ma'am.
So we will be coming down to that as well.
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
one
Yes,
second.
ma'am.
There are a couple of people who have admitted. I think I've made SRC2 co-host. Maybe I can make somebody else also co-host. Oh, you all dropped out. Okay. Can I make you, Sumita, co-host so that you can admit anybody else who's joining? So these phonemes or syllables, they are just converting the continuous speech to discrete sounds, discrete units. And that is the work of the job or the role of phonemes or alphabets, is to represent discrete units of sound. And today in the world, Phoenicia is recognized as the birthplace for all these phonemes. In fact, you look at the names: Phoenicia, phoneme, phone. So
Phonetics.
Ideas of sound which originated from Phoenicia, they got the name phoneme, phonetics, Phoenicia, phone. That's the connection. And this is a source of all the Western alphabets. So the Western alphabet today, we say English. English comes from Latin, which has roots with Greek. Then you have Aramaic, Hebrew, Old Hebrew, Phoenician, Proto-Semitic. So that's how the whole thing goes back and back. And that's the history of alphabets that they've traced as far as the Western alphabets are concerned. So now come to English, okay? So today you call it English Roman alphabets also. And you say A, B, C, D, E are the way in which you find all the alphabets. You look at Arabic, you find Alif, Be, Gim, Pe, Te. You look at Greek, you find Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta.
And all of you know all this. Now the question we're asking you is, why should B come after A? Or why should C come before D? Have you ever thought of it? Why is the sequence essential in science, in phonetics? Why can't we say C, D, B, E, A, change the sequence? Will it make any difference? Have any of you ever thought of it? The sequence, especially similarly in the Greek language, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, all that. What's the need for a sequence? Does the sequence have any meaning? It's an important point when you're talking about scripts, especially in this particular session. Yeah.
So if we look at our alphabets in all Indian languages, you will find that there is a systematic way in which we organize. So if you take Sanskrit, for instance, you have, and all languages, you segregate them as vowels and then the consonants. So, and you have the vowels a, e, u, u, and all of that. Then you have ka, kha, ga, ga, nga, cha, cha, ja, ja. So you have, this is called a ka varga, then you have a cha varga, ta varga, tha varga, pa varga, and then yara, lava, and all that. If you put the same thing actually in Tamil, when sometimes when you just write it like this, you don't realize. But if you put it like this, you will see it maps almost exactly to similar organization. Certain things internally are missed. It is not that these sounds are not there. You do have these sounds. So for instance, you ka, cha, ta you may have, but you do have a d sound. You do say padagu for a boat. You have pa, you have ba also, but you've not shown it in the script, that's all. But you do have those sounds in the language. And they are very, very similar. And this holds good for all Indian languages. We have a similar organization of the alphabets, the phonemes. And why so, if you look at it, actually, we'll come to that a little later than the next one. I'll just show you, but I'll show you why we have that kind of an organization. I'm sure those of you who are in Professor Usha's class of Sanskrit would have actually uh, been taught this already. But I'm sure since it's a mixed group, we'll go into this. See here, the first vowels, these are sounds which are pronounced from the throat because of the air column. So the air coming out of the throat, these, when they are modulated differently, when the tongue allows the air to come out in different ways, then you call it as vowels. But fundamentally, they are the air. It's the air which is getting expelled out. Now, when the mouth, contours of the mouth and the tongue are used to modulate them into different sounds, then you call them consonants. Then you get the k, ch, and so on. Let's see how this happens. And this is very, very beautifully expressed in Tamil, where we have used the word uir எழுத்து and மெய் எழுத்து. So we have called vowels as uir எழுத்து because they are the life. They give life to the sound, and it is coming out of the breath which is the life. So the air, so that is your uir எழுத்து. And these மெய் எழுத்து, all the ka, 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 cha, ta, ta, para, and all that, ka, ka, ga, nga, and all that, they are all the மெய் எழுத்து because they are making use of the body, your mouth, parts of your mouth to actually give those different sounds.
They are also the body of the language. Very important. That's why you use the word me.
Because with just the ah, you know, you can't really make proper sounds. To get the body of the language, you need these மெய்யெழுத்துs. So this, look at it. When the air column is modulated by the tongue at the base, you get the ka. Try saying ka, it will come from the inside. Ka, cha. Cha is when your tongue is touching this part.
Palate.
The palate. The roof. And then ta is when it is touching this with the tip of the tongue and slightly rolled. Then you get the ta sound. Try saying ta, it will be there. Then when you touch it with the teeth.
Dental.
Then you get the ta sound. And when the sound is modulated and controlled by the lip, then you get the pa sound. So ka, cha, ta, ta, pa, all this, so all the vargas, they all come based on how this tongue and the lip control the flow of the air coming out. So and it's very scientific. See, when we have placed ka and then cha and then ta, it all is also progressing gradually from the various points in the mouth till pa varga, which is the final coming out.
Which is what is there. This is done actually in a real time and shown. What we showed is animation that's available. But the point is, look at this. So what it does is it gives, while A, B, C, D, or in the all the languages don't necessarily have a meaning for the sequence. In both the Devanagari script, all the North Indian languages, and Tamil and other South Indian language scripts, what do you see here? There's a sequence. And there's a science for sequence. You cannot change it. That's the point we're trying to impress upon you here. You can change the sequence in other languages, but not in any of the Indian languages, because there's a reason for it. Absolutely. That's a beauty. That's what we want to bring out to you as a key point, as a takeaway point. So this scripts, since it's a session on that, it speaks
And
about
this idea of how sounds are organized actually went from India to Phoenicia.
That's the important point.
But what happens is it goes from India through Arabia and everything and reaches Phoenicia. In the process, somewhere the understanding got mixed up and they mixed up the order of arranging the sound. So while we did ka, then cha, the ta, varga and all that, there the meaning, the organization got slipped up. And that is what is mentioned by one of the persons who has been studying these alphabets. And he says, the over here, in spite of it looking quite disorderly, our Western alphabet, they are also having a sequence. There is a sequence, he says, and we can make out the sequence, but the sequence was the problem. So he says, see, it must have been around the same time, around 3,700 years ago, that an inquisitive Near Eastern language student was on a study trip in India, and while there, he copied a grid of sound signs, graphemes or phonemes that an ancient Indian linguist was showing him. The problem was, while copying, the student made two errors. Indeed, two errors of historic proportion. The result, the haphazard order of the characters in our Western ABC.
This is being said or expressed on a book called Alphabet or Abracadabra. In magic you say abracadabra. Of course, that word itself has no meaning because it's all the alphabets are all mixed up. That's why it's so. That's how it comes about. So it got mixed up.
And this, how can we say for sure that this kind of an organization was from India, prevalent in India, and it is from India that it has traveled? One is, we can see it here. The other evidence for this is also in music, because when music is also something similar, you're just singing, everybody sings, everybody can sing. You don't need notations, you don't need sarigama padani. Anyone can make music, birds make music. But to take that sound, and when I want to write the song down so I can preserve it and sing it again later. So if Tyagaraja, Swami Tyagaraja, he sang the song, then they were his students who heard him sing and notated it. They said he sang it like this. So we can also today, after so many years also, we can still sing the same way. So that method of notating has been possible because you are able to convert sound to writing through notes and script. So when it is language and words, you call it script. When it is music, you call it notes. And in India, what are the notes we have? Saptaswara, right? Sa, ri, ga, ma, pa, da, ni. And we have a reason for why we call this sarigama padani. Why didn't we call this karigama or kapa something? We have given it a specific name and we have organized it in a particular order.
The organization is important here. The method of organization is what she's going to express to you now.
So if you take the sound sa, it is called, the sa stands for short form for shadjam. And shadjam, the thing is, they have used birds and animals here. Their direct sounds don't map to the note. What maps to the note is how these birds or animals make the sound. And how does that map to our body? So if you were to imitate that bird, where will you have to make that sound from in your body? And when you sing, the sound is actually what they say is it is coming from your nabi, your navel. It is coming all the way out along with the bhavam and everything. So that sound, when it is coming, when it touches different parts, when it vibrates, what is music? It is about resonance, right? That's how you get harmony, frequencies, resonance. So this resonance is looked at as your body itself is seen as an air column, and the resonance at different points is what is expressed as notes. So for sa, which is shadjam, they associated it with the sound of a peacock. Because if you have to make the sound of a peacock, the peacock, forget it, it can make its own sound. But if you were to imitate a peacock, where will you make that sound from? And think of a peacock, what kind of a sound does it produce? A peacock sound is meow. That is the sound of a peacock. And where does that sound have to come from? It has to originate from your navel, your nabi, and it has to, you have to pull it out that from the navel. That is when you will get that sound of a peacock. So they say a sa note also comes all the way from your nabi. So you'll say sa. So it is coming all the way from inside. Similarly, if you say re, then they say this re is the part of, it should come from the part of your body where a bull sound can come. So what is a bull sound? Bull is a rishabham. A bull, how does it make a sound? It will go as ma. And if you try saying ma, all of you try saying ma, you will find that it is your chest here which is vibrating. So that from there, your re sound has to come, is what they say. So, sa, re. I know you have a student, I know in SRC, her name is, I think, Vedashri or Vedika, I don't remember exactly, Vedika, I think, who is also learning music here. So she'll be able to, do this for you later. So, re,
Yes,
and I'm
ma'am.
sure music teachers are there. Yes, Sumita?
Actually, there is a kriti of Saint Tyagaraja Swami in it's called Shobillu Saptaswara, where he
Yes,
says how
absolutely.
sound notations are produced.
Yes.
Nabi, Hrit, Kanta,
Nabi,
Rachana.
Hrit, Kanta, Rasana.
Kanta,
So from
Rachana.
Nabi, Hrit, Kanta, Rasana, it has to come
Rachana.
out.
Yes.
So chest is for re. Like that for Gandhara, goat. You have to sing it from your throat. The ga sound should come from your throat. Because goat, look at it, meh, meh, it is your throat. Like that, you try each of these birds, okay? So each of those sounds, if you have to imitate these birds, it is from these places that you will have to make that sound. And these saptaswara are coming from these places. That's what they say. So while most of them map to the names of the animals, the beauty is this shadjam. Shadjam means, shat means six, ja means birth. So shat, ja, six births. So why this sa, which is coming all the way from the nabi, it has to go through six stops, six stations. Like the train, it stops at six stations before it can come out. It stops at the chest, at the throat, at the base of the tongue. So it has to cross all of this. Therefore, it is like it's taking birth at every point and still coming out. So that is why six times born, Shatjam. So that's the name way we named it. But see, the beauty and all this, we can sit and analyze. But the point here we are trying to make is we in India have a reason for why seven notes and how we call them and how we had an understanding of where these notes come from. And if you see that,
in contrast, if you see in West as well as in East, they also have only seven notes.
we do talk about the similarity of seven notes in the West, in Japanese music, in so many music. We have written about this in our books. But they are not able to explain why they have seven notes and why they have called them so. We say sa, ri, ga, ma, the ma means something, pa means something, and it tells you the signs of notating. Now, when you say do, re, mi, they sound the same. You say sa, ri, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, and you say do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, so. They're similar progressively and everything. But where did they get the do from? Where did they get the re and all that? They trace it to like a hymn, which is like a shloka. So a hymn which is by St. John in 8th century. And in this hymn, they say Ut quant laxis, resonare fibris. So like that, this is the Latin. The English translation is, so with all the voice can be sung your wonderful feats by your servants to wipe clean their tainted lips, O Saint John. That is the meaning of this hymn. And what did they do? They took the first letters of verses. So Yut, they took Re here from the second. They took Me from the third verse. They took Fa. So they knew that they have to have 7 notes. So they picked up some verse. And it's not just some verse. They picked up actually a quite suited verse because this is by a saint, Sancta Johann. Johann or John. John is actually Johann in European languages, native Latin and so on. And this particular verse is talking about song, singing, lips coming out and wiping clean from the tainted lips. So they've chosen a good verse, but they took those starting ones, Yut, Re, Mi, Fa, So, La, Si. And later on, Yut became Do and Si became Ti. So this is how they explain there. But then there is really no science in it. They have actually, if you see, only mapped our 7 notes.
So while we have the logic, the reasoning, and the science, and going back to Prakriti nature, for the Europeans in the West, Latin, as well as to the Japanese in the East, both sides, it goes back to about 1,300 years and stops there with a particular verse and doesn't go beyond that. Beyond that, they have a glass ceiling. Whereas in our Indian thought, when you communicate, this is what the subject of the day, there is no glass ceiling and it's directly linked to Prakriti, nature, of which we humans are also a part of. So this communication that we have had is across ages, across age groups, across civilizations, across geographies, across languages, and across scripts, the subject that is part of your this week's whole program. So that how we communicated along this long route that we showed you for many thousands of kilometers, many thousand years ago.
But now comes the question that Sumita asked a little while ago also. So along this entire route, is it enough? So we have understood communication, we have had sounds, we have had scripts, we have been able to put sounds down as scripts. But will that help when I have to travel along different countries and I have to engage with people who speak? Because my sounds that I'm making may not mean anything to them. The meanings may be different. And what I have written as A in maybe in Devanagari or in Tamil or Modi or whatever script, that may not mean anything to them. So how then do I communicate? So that is where we resort to symbols and signs. And this is what the Indus seal is all about. So many people say the Indus seal is not a script. It is also a script, but it is a script which is in a symbolic language. And it's one of the most ancient script and it has symbols for the words. And these words, therefore, these symbols, and there is a technique. And it follows a standard way in which you have to interpret these symbols also. So which means it is a proper system. It is not random. For choosing the symbols, they have adopted a particular standard method to represent the symbol and to interpret it.
And the technique is called rebus. It's been deciphered, it's called rebus. It's one of the last to be deciphered in the world among all the ancient languages. And this is spread across continents, as we have seen. And we use common words across languages. So it's a Samparka Pasha, as we can call it, meaning a unifying language. This is not a unique language, but a unifying language. Yes, it is unique, but more importantly, the emphasis on unifying lands, unifying continents, unifying across time. That's the beauty of, that's a contribution of the Indian civilization to this.
So for an example, we'll just show you a couple of them, okay? So here there is this particular, so in this seal, we have a symbol here, which is actually like a squirrel. It is a squirrel here, so you can make out. And when do they use this symbol? What does the squirrel usage of a squirrel here denote? A squirrel is actually a sign for an aggregator. Because if you see, squirrels are supposed to, just like ants, they go, they collect nuts, and they, honeybees, ants, squirrels, they're all symbols for aggregation, collection, and giving later, using it up later. So, and that is what a trader is about. He goes about collecting things from various producers and then takes it to another land and he trades. So they used and a squirrel is also called
It's
a
common
shreni.
across the land. Look, across lands, a squirrel is shown for the purpose of aggregation. Similarly, when you show 3-4 straight lines, what does it mean?
It means you are chopping slices, pieces.
Cutting.
Right? Cutting.
Piece pisa. And what do you call that piece pisa vettrathu in the Tamil language?
Kandam tundama vettiduven. Right? That's how you say, right?
In Tamil language.
Kandam tundama vettrathu.
So the word kandam.
Kandam is a section, is a piece, is a part.
That is why in Ramayana too, you have different kanda. Ayodhya Kandam, Bala Kandam, Sundara Kandam. Because they're all sections, they're all pieces. Like that.
And what causes something to become pieced? How do you piece anything? With a sword. And if you see one form of Shiva, especially in Maratha, he will have a sword in his hand. And those kind of deities which have got, these are typical village divinities. And when they have this kind of Grama Devata, and when they have these deity with a sword, they call that deity as a Khandoba. Because he's having a sword in his hand, and the sword is capable of cutting into pieces. So, and Khadga in Sanskritam is the word for a sword.
Look at this. So, across languages, Tamil, Kandam, Tundam, Kandam, Sanskritla, Ramayanatla, Marathi, all languages across the world and across continents use the idea of that. And what do you call?
So, a visual representation of these 4 lines means pieces, and you link it back to sword. So,
cutting pieces. Look at the beauty of it.
So, this seal, for instance, is actually talking about swords being traded, which is true. Which is a true fact, because I'll just go to that bit and then come back. So here, this region, which is where Phoenicia is, the Mediterranean Sea.
East Mediterranean Sea, very important region.
See, this is this part, okay? This is this region. This region here, we have blown it up. And this region is where you have places like Damascus, where the Indian swords used to go. And here, look at this, Byblos. So parallelly, Byblos is the region from where books got printed for the first time.
And what do you call a library, or among the books, which is the most printed book of the world? Would anybody like to take a guess? It's a Bible. The word Bible itself comes from this biblos, and the word book, bibliothek, for a library, bibliography, book. Look at that. So, like that, all these words have come from these places, these ports where they specialized in. So, while Phoenicia as a land gave us phonemes, phonetics, phone, telephone, and all that, each of these ports gave us names. Biblos for book, Bible. Like that, it's all developed that way, and that is how we have this. So, one side we have, so this East Mediterranean coast was a very thriving coast with trade about 4,000, 5,000 years ago, which had a continuous connect with the civilization of India. And that is how we get this terms itself there. So those terms are there for the last couple of millennia. Whereas in India, Bharat, we have all this been organic, natural, nature-based. They transcend time. And look at this, they transcend geographies. They transcend civilizations. And they're giving you ideas for which the solution lie within. So it's all emotions. Today, all of you, what do you all girls do? You use, in your cell phone, use emojis. So don't think that your emojis using today are new. The same emojis were used 4,000 years back, 5,000 years back to communicate ideas across lands, across the seas. So the emojis, the concepts used today are that old, but they're also nature-based. That's the beauty of it.
And so if you really look at it, therefore, various communication modes. How, if somebody has to communicate something to anybody else, there are so many ways in which you can communicate. You start with sound, then you go to hand signs, mudra, you can make, wait, come, and so on. Then you can also do abhinaya. So you can make a sequence and emote with your face, all of that, that also can communicate. You don't need to make sound at all. Then you can also communicate through music. You can sing happily, you can sing with sadness, angrily. All of that also indicates what you're trying to say.
Raudram also can bring out all.
But if you end eventually the words. But all of these, they have to be live, in person. So the person, the two people who are communicating, at least, or the person who is trying to say, and all those who are receiving, have to be live.
In person.
Or even online live, like what we are doing today. We have to be able to see each other, to gauge and see and hear, both eyes, sight and sound. But if you want to preserve it, then you need to look at symbols, because when goods are being sent from one land to another, and where the people can't understand your sounds, then you need symbols that can express that. You need script to preserve all this, so that even when we have gone off and you don't have this video recording also, you still have something written in our books that you can read and again think and get back whatever we've spoken. You need notation for recollecting the song.
Music, especially.
And thus, if you really see from the Bharatiya civilization, for sound, treatment of sound and understanding of sound, we have volumes of texts which speak about sound per se, how sound itself, how does it emerge? It has 4 stages and so on. And what is the kind of sound you hear? And how sound you trace it back to Om, the Pranava. So there is a whole volume of text that speaks just about sound, Nadam. Then you have Mudra. Okay, we have 108 Karanam. Bharata's Natya Shastra has written, expounded so much about all these Mudra. It has expounded so much about the rasa for Abhinaya, the face. How can the face bring out all the various expressions? So then you have all the rasa and the Abhinaya. And if you have to bring out all those expressions in music, then how do you combine all the various frequencies to produce notes that are pleasing, harsh, rude, joyful? So which are those notes when clubbed together give you that kind of a feeling? Then you have something. All of these have been dealt with very detailed in the Natya Shastra. And then you have the words which we have called as Vak, which is speech.
Also, we have the term Vak Devi, one of the words for Saraswati, because the words have to have a meaning to it.
Then to communicate with people who don't know your language, we have had seals, we have symbolism, or to communicate with people who are going to come after so many generations, but still those objects will mean the same and can bring back that recollection. So our ancestors left behind lotus or lion or a swan or a parrot symbols for us to be able to recollect some of those attributes today after so many generations. Then you have the actual script itself, Akshara. So the Devanagari you use today, or how you wrote Sanskrit long while ago, we don't know in what exact script they wrote. So the script can change.
The language can be written in multiple scripts. You can write today in Devanagari script, or Modi script, or Tamil script,
diacritic.
Roman diacritics, or you can write in some of the East European scripts, East Asian scripts.
But the language can be still Tamil, or the language can still be Sanskritam or Hindi.
For example, Tamil can be written in the Siddham script of Japanese too. So, scripts is a method of communicating a particular language.
And finally, to notate, we even have the Saptaswara. So, look at it, we have straddled with literature and sciences about all forms of communication.
That is how we have communicated.
So, no wonder we are Bharati.
So this is mastery. One, we have antiquity, then we have mastery. Look at this.
And we are unique in that. People have taken from us. We are able to show where we got it. They are not able to show where they got it.
And ours goes back many millennia in antiquity. That's the beauty of it. And in this Bharati approach, what have we done? We have straddled both the subtle to gross, both mind and matter. And today, when you're coming up to AI, artificial intelligence, what do you need? You need to do this. You need to be able to handle mind and matter, which we have in our communication methodology. We'll be able to come to subtle growth. We'll be able to. So when you go tomorrow into AI, that is what we need to do. So there is a Phoenicia connect we have seen. And that's how people traded. And all this, and look at this, divinity in communication.
So all of these aspects is what you see in Saraswati. So Saraswati, she is the divinity for communication, sounds, music, speech, and the Saras in her denotes, yes, no doubt, she is a reservoir, she is the medium for all the knowledge. And she flows, she's a river, so she flows, knowledge flows. It cannot stay. Two people, it will move from one to the other. And it is very graceful, she's flowing gracefully. Then she also has the name Vidya because communication, what are you talking about? You're talking about the sciences, the wisdom. There is content.
Wisdom, with wisdom. Look at the words in English language.
So whenever you speak something, it goes and gets stored and creates knowledge in the other person. Then you have the Vak, which are the words and language. Then you have the Lipi. So her name Sharada denotes all the various Lipi and the aspect of Aksharam, syllables, text, and so on. Then her name Veena, it denotes the resonance and the harmonics that are there in music and sounds. And her name Vani denotes eloquence. That means the ability with which somebody can communicate. What is eloquence? Eloquence is somebody who knows all the words and everything, who has the knowledge, and but is also able to speak nicely, charmingly, pleasantly to attract and also convey whatever they want to say. Which is why all the traders who went across these lands traded with people who did not know their language. All new people, new lands, and they have traded. What did we call our traders? Vanijyam, Vanij, Vanigam, Tamil. So, Vani means they are eloquent. So, you should be able to talk about your product, explain, convince the other person that this is a nice product, buy it. So, that is why Vani, her name denotes all those aspects. And then Bharati, she is for speech, and Shruti again for the aspect that the speech has sound, is an oral aspect. So many, she has many more names, but we have picked up those names here which connote the aspect of direct communication.
So there is divinity in communication, there is prakriti in communication, there is nature in communication. That's the beauty of it. So that is what we wanted to communicate in this 1 hour.
And this is such a beauty because you're talking about scripts and monuments, and jointly with the core Sharada team, her name also is Sharada. And also I understand you're holding it in the Saraswati Hall in your college. So many things coming together, such a lovely resonance. And with that, we would actually like to take questions.
Thank you, sir and ma'am, for your speech of knowledge and wisdom.
There's a small question session with the chief guests of the day. May I request Ms. Madhuram of 2nd BSc Mathematics for the question session.
Good evening, ma'am. So actually, I have a doubt. Is the nature communication, that was how it is interconnected with the phonetics and semantics and the travels. In the travel of communication, that was a little bit.
Let me just repeat what we understood from you, what we understood as your question. So you want little more clarity on how the phonetics and semantics have traveled, right? Okay. Now,
Yes,
I would like to say here, it is not so much, okay, semantics, you will see it is available in all the languages, European and Indian languages, especially Sanskrit, you will find semantics is also there. But irrespective of semantics, the phonetics, the science of phonetics can travel. So science of phonetics meaning, how do you break sound? How do you understand sound being produced? And how do you convert the sound? So when I'm saying sound, okay, look at the word sound that I'm making. So this sound, if I have to write it, how should I write it? Can I break it as sound or sound? So how should I break it? Or should I just say sound is just one symbol? So these are the sciences, the methods. And we had understood that the basic, very, very, very basic, at the lowest level, you can express sounds as vowels and consonants.
உயிரெழுத்து மெய்யெழுத்து. And how do you show sound today in your cell phone? All of you have got cell phones. You have something like a speaker and you have 3 lines around the speaker. That means sound, your audio. So now today, from using the alphabet SOUND or using it in any of the languages, today you just show it as an emoji. It's understood as sound.
As an icon.
It's an icon, isn't it? So that is how things have changed.
But our speciality has been to understand all sounds, and if sound has to be written, a sound produced by human voice, how do you break it at what level? So you break it into vowels, consonants, and then you join these two to get your உயிர்மெய் எழுத்து. And with many such உயிர்மெய் எழுத்துs, you can get semantics. So the உயிர்மெய் எழுத்து gives you the phonetics, and joining of the different உயிர்மெய் எழுத்து and the உயிர் எழுத்து, you get semantics, meaning you are grouping the sounds into words that have meaning.
Okay, I hope we have answered your question there.
So when the travel happened, it is more from the phonetics part initially, so that they can structure their language. So they were speaking English. So how do you structure English? Because now, okay, before this, what was happening? They were speaking, but now they wanted to write. So when they wanted to write, how should I convert sound into writing? That was their challenge. So for that, they found this technology very useful. And therefore, just like our vowels, a, e, I, u, and k, g, g, they also came up with vowels a, e, I, o, u, and all the other consonants b, c, d, f, and so on. And they combined them to create their language, cat, cat. So we will say punai for cat. But we know how we get punai. We get it from u vowel mixing with ips consonant. So we say ip, u, pu. And then nai, punai. So we know how to write a punai. But they will write cat, cat. But they also know they have to write consonant C. So cat sound needs a consonant C, it needs a vowel A, and it needs another consonant T. So that's how, so the science of writing words is what they have taken. I hope you got that clarified.
Thank
it's
you.
a little
Yes, ma'am.
abstract.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And one more question is from India, the languages have modified, ma'am, while traveling. In what sort of it was, ma'am?
See, when
The script looks similar. So,
Can you, what?
I just wanted to say a
ma'am, the
larger
script
point.
all looks similar, but in what sort of it could be modified?
No, I want to speak about a larger point which I said in the beginning. I'll repeat and expand it now for understanding. Today, when we travel, both within India or overseas, at least we have a method of communication. We know each other's language. Suppose you go from here to some other place, you speak in English or speak in Tamil or Hindi or Telugu or Kannadam or something. We are able to have a link. Imagine our ancestors millennia ago going overseas or going in different parts of Bharat, not knowing the language, and going and landing there and starting to communicate, and more importantly, starting to trade. So they had to have common factors. And what did they use as common factors? They used nature. These are concepts of Prakriti. They used concepts of life. And that is what they used. So, and that basis has not changed across millennia. That's constant. That is what they want to show in the spread both in the East as well as the West across time, how those basic concepts have survived. And those concepts are even now ingrained in our communication. in our scripts. It's ingrained there. That's the beauty of it. And we're able to trace it back. That is the key point we wanted to express here.
Actually, if I am understanding what you want further, see, I think you're asking what is it that exactly changed? Then I would recommend you read this particular article, this particular paper.
This article
person,
in our blog.
Wim Borsboom, and he will show you exactly where it changed. How did the crossover happen? That today we have ABCD in the order in which it is. Instead of having it as R, E, E, I, O, U, and then the consonants and so on. So you can read this for particular, to understand the whole flow. He traces it flow by flow. It is rather laborious. You will have to really be with it for some time and then understand it.
Thank you.